You know, we all want to live longer, right? But what about living better? That's the real question. Today, we're jumping into Dr. Peter Attia's incredible blueprint for longevity. It's a complete rethinking of how we should look at our health, all to make sure our later years can actually be our best years.
This quote from Dr. Attia, man, it really sets the stage. It points to this cliff, this moment around age 75, where, for most of us, physical and cognitive decline just hits the accelerator. This isn't just some vague fear about getting old, it's a hard, data-driven reality that he has basically declared war on.
So here's our game plan for digging into his philosophy. We're going to start by defining the problem he calls the marginal decade, then look at his solution, Medicine 3.0. We'll get into what it means to train like an athlete, check out the proactive health playbook he champions, talk about the crucial role of emotional health, and then wrap it all up with how to create your own personal timeline.
Okay, first things first, the marginal decade. Because before you can even think about a solution, you have to get super clear on the problem you're trying to solve.
This right here is the concept at the very heart of Dr. Attia's work. It's that final stretch of life where, for so many people, the quality of life just tanks. I mean, imagine trying to operate at only half of your capacity. That's the default path he's trying to get us off of, turning what's often a period of decline into a time that's still vibrant and full of joy.
So, how do we dodge that default path? Well, this brings us to Dr. Attia's big idea, something he calls Medicine 3.0.
This slide just lays it out perfectly. On the left, you've got Medicine 2.0. That's what most of us know. It's reactive. It waits for you to get sick, and then it treats the symptoms. But Medicine 3.0, it's a total flip of the script. It's about being proactive, taking a long arc view, looking decades down the road to prevent things like heart disease, cancer, and dementia from ever getting a foothold in the first place. A huge piece of this proactive approach is physical fitness, but Attia completely reframes it. You're not just going to the gym, you are training for what he brilliantly calls the Olympics of old age.
And that training is a real commitment, about 10 hours a week. Now, why so much? Because to get ready for those Olympics, you need the single most powerful tool we have, exercise. Attia sees it as the ultimate drug for slowing down both physical and cognitive decline.
So what does a 10-hour training week actually look like? Well, it's built on three main pillars. First, you've got your steady cardio to build that aerobic base. Second, you need intense interval training to boost your VO2 max. We'll get to that in a second. And third, consistent weightlifting, because keeping your strength and muscle mass is maybe the single most important thing you can do for a long, healthy life. Let's just double-click on that VO2 max for a minute. Attia's analogy of it being the size of your engine is just perfect. It's basically a measure of how good your body is at using oxygen. And the science is incredibly clear on this. The higher your VO2 max, the bigger your engine, the longer and healthier your life is likely to be. Simple as that. But being in peak physical shape is only part of the strategy. Let's move on to the next piece of the playbook, using advanced diagnostics to get a sneak peek at what might be coming down the pike for your health. This is all about using tools we already have, but in totally new ways. A DEXA scan isn't just for checking osteoporosis anymore, it's for tracking your muscle mass right now. Testing for the ApoE gene helps you understand your Alzheimer's risk so you can start aggressive prevention early. And yeah, the full-body MRI is used to spot cancer when it's still tiny and manageable.
Okay, now this one is pretty controversial, and it's really important to see both sides. The huge benefit? It's obvious. Finding something early can absolutely save your life. But the drawback is also huge. These scans can find a lot of weird, benign things, which leads to false positives and a ton of stressful, anxious follow-up appointments. Attia is very clear. If you're not ready for that emotional roller coaster, this type of screening is not for you. Now, after all this talk about training and high-tech scans, Dr. Attia makes a really critical pivot. His approach goes way beyond just the physical body. He argues that our emotional health and our social connections are just as important, maybe even more so. And really, this question says it all, doesn't it? The goal isn't just to increase your lifespan, the number of years you're on this planet. It's to expand your health span, the number of years you live in good health. And that absolutely includes your emotional and mental well-being. A long life without any joy isn't the prize we're after. And check this out. This is such a crucial and honestly, really hopeful idea. With our physical health, we're basically fighting a brilliant delaying action against an inevitable decline. But our emotional health, that's a different story.
It's not on a preset downward slope. With deliberate work, like therapy or mindfulness, it's a skill that can actually get better and stronger as we get older.
And this point cannot be stressed enough. Decades and decades of research, like the famous Harvard study of adult development, show a direct causal link between the quality of your relationships and how long and how well you live. This isn't just a nice-to-have, fluffy idea, it is a biological necessity.
So, how do we pull all of this together and make it real for you and me? That brings us to our final section, a really powerful exercise that you can do for yourself.
He calls it the timeline exercise. You literally draw out your life, decade by decade. Then you add the timelines of your kids and maybe even your future grandkids. You start mapping out when they might graduate or get married or have their own kids. And all of a sudden, this abstract goal of living longer becomes incredibly real and concrete. You see exactly what you're training for. Suddenly, the difference between being 80 and 90 isn't just 10 years. It's a whole lifetime of memories you are fighting to be there for.
And that leaves us with the ultimate question. This isn't just about avoiding getting sick. It's about defining the life you actually want to live, and then building the physical and emotional health to go out and make it happen. So take a minute and really ask yourself, what are you training for?